I mean, another issue again, coming from USSR is we're talking about equality in USSR, and and we would like, and that's the issue that you touched upon. So, I mean, what would be the most equitable society? You brought, I mean, you say tax the rich. Do you think that taxing the rich will make it more equitable society?
Well, listen,
that would be a Band-Aid.
we're not saying
the rich.
say tax the rich.
I'm saying that would be a Band-Aid because there's a broader problem. Like what you're talking about is like here what we're reacting to. If you have a pie, like the wealthy are leaving one little slice. And then the rest of the society has to live in that one little slice. Maybe in USSR you have a pie and the wealthy are taking 6 pieces of the pie and they leave you with 2. So you're a little bit more balanced.
Wait, the USSR?
Yeah, I don't know.
There were no rich. There were no rich people. There were no businesses.
Now.
Yeah, no.
Well, but it's not the USSR. It's not socialist system anymore.
Listen to my point. Like if people don't have money, like let's say in the Depression, people didn't have money, but everybody, I shouldn't say everybody. The majority of people.
I'm sorry for being so close. I can hardly hear you with the mask.
Listen, we're in the same boat. Everybody kind of helped each other because they were in the same boat. Now there's these extremities, so people it affects people more because they're not in the same boat. They're so separated. You know what I'm saying?
But again, how? I mean. How do you make it equitable? That's the thing. I mean,
how to make it equitable?
Yeah, I mean, would you tax the rich? 75% of like they propose in France, or?
Pieces of pie. Give them 2 pieces of pie or 3. Don't take the whole pie and leave it like a splinter.
But you know what's going to happen? Then they will, like in France, they start thinking, but why should I even bother? If I work hard, if I work my ass off, 24 hours, I'm a small businessman myself. And then the government comes in. So you understand what I'm talking about. Then the government comes in and takes 75% of what you make.
I'm not talking about 75%.
Okay, yeah, okay. So I'm just trying to understand where do you stand on this.
In New York, they were talking about trying to have a tax. They used to have a transfer tax on stock market sales. A transfer tax. That was half a penny a share.
Okay.
Half a penny a share. Okay, that's like half of 1% per share.
Okay.
And if they took that off in the 80s because of some bad deal that a politician made, and if just that 0.5% with all the stock market value would solve so many deficit things. So we're not talking again like lots of money. They were talking about putting a 0.5% sales tax. Transfer tax on luxury apartments. People complain about that. Or people making over in New York State. I mean, really, we're not talking even 1 million, 2 million, which someone, industrious worker with an entrepreneur could do that. He or himself working by themselves. But once you get to the point that you are basically, again, making money while you're asleep,
right,
and making a lot of money. And a friend of mine said, well, they're gonna, if you do charge them 0.5%, they're gonna move to like Connecticut, New Jersey. But if you're making $1 million a year, 0.5% is $5,000. If you live in New York City, are you really going to move to Connecticut, New Jersey for $5,000 if you're making that kind of money?
So in your mind.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so as far if I understand you correctly, to solve for the socio-economic problems country.
I'm just trying to, as Hank said, we're just trying to take some bites out. Let's just start with. Let me just. I'm convinced that if we could get the people who are living on the streets, get them residency. The people who are mentally ill live in the streets. A lot of that stupid little street crime and occasional violent crime would go away. And then there's a lot of people who, the hardest part about getting a job is having a residence. If you don't have a residence, if you're living out of your car, if you're someone that's like, not here, but in like suburbs and stuff, people park in Walmart.
Just surviving.
Right.
He's talking about right here. If you go down south, the southern states, Virginia, inland, there are shitloads of poor people nobody ever hears about because they have no connection to media, nothing. they're living on like stuff to get out of the woods and barely making it.
And
There's a lot of that people don't even recognize.
They're sleeping in Walmart parking lots and stuff like that. They're like, in their
Even
cars.
worse than that.
But speaking of the statistics, what's the percentage? Do you know? Because I never kind of came across that kind of statistics.
I don't know.
It's
right, you never came across, but then the majority of Americans now come across it because it's not talked about.
well, it's like unemployment.
Rural Texas, rural
I'm sorry?
Florida.
Okay, so unemployment as a
Yeah.
statistic, it's very misleading because unemployment
Yes.
only counts the people who go in and apply for unemployment.
Yes, but there are two numbers, and we know that. In the statistics, there are two numbers: unemployment and you something, which counts people that actually are unemployed, not the ones that are receiving
How do you
unemployment
know who's
benefit.
unemployed?
Well, we know, we have the statistics. No, we have. But we keep track of those people too. It's just they
But
publicize.
We know that number is a lot higher than the official.
Yeah, of course. So,
unemployment report.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I know that. But again, nobody's hiding these numbers. They're right
Well,
there.
except when you listen to the news reports, they tell you,
Well-
the unemployment rate is this, and that's like.
Well,
not
don't
applied.
listen to fake news.
Oh, wait.
You touched on another topic.
Okay.
That's exactly right.
You just showed your hand there, but
I
it's
didn't.
fake news.
Well, I mean, the fake news, there can be all types of fake news. Fake news in a sense that they pick and choose. See, coming from think about it this way. I came from USSR, okay?
Right.
So in USSR, they had two major newspapers. One was called Pravda, which means the truth, and the other one was Izvestia, which means the news.
Right.
A joke, and of course it wasn't Soviet joke, you'll go to jail for that. The joke goes, American joke goes that there is no news in truth, and there is no truth in news. So, and most of the people, 99.9% of the Soviets, they took this fake news, and it was all fake news. Hook, sinker, how does the saying go?
Hook, line, and sinker.
Hook, line, and sinker, exactly, okay?
Right.
So I was one of those very, very few Soviets who were taking every bit of information not in face value. So I was trying to think it through, and even if you're receiving all the information from these two sources, you can still kind of use what's known as common sense.
Right.
To me, it didn't make any sense.
Right.
So when I say fake news, I mean it can go both ways. I think each of us has to have your own filter. So you filter the news,
of course.
right? So, when we talk about the statistics, you can take this number, but we know there's another number. You and I, we know there's another number which is easily available. We can look it up.
But then you ask the question, why the deception? You know what I mean? There's all these other things at play. That oversimplifies.
Well, they just pursue their own interests. I mean, after all, they're
Well, there you
corporations,
go.
they're falling.
Right.
Unfortunately, what happened to the news is that they became kind of politicized, which we're not supposed to do. This is not the job of the news, be on the left or be on the right. They're supposed to be independent. They have to dig to the truth, and they have to keep proverbial feet of the politicians to the fire.
I sometimes watch Al Jazeera because I find they're now they have their issues, but I
Watch
mean,
Russia Today. How about that? Oh my God, a whole bunch of lies. RT, exactly. Watch our RT.
Yeah.
I think we can get it on cable
RT,
here, can't we?
Chris Hedges, he's on RT.
Uh-huh.
But because nobody else would take his news on, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
No, but
I mean, you got to listen to everything, and then
You do? No, I agree. But then you have to use a grain of salt, your own kind of analytical mind, if you're capable of that, and then try to get to the truth. Don't take anything at face value. Nothing. Nothing.
There's actually, if you don't read it, there's an online newspaper in New York, The City.
Okay.
Do you ever get that?
No, I don't get that.
It's what we call muckraking. What muckraking means is they go and they find all this like problems going on in the city, and they expose it. And they do a pretty good job.
Okay.
They're actually tied now to WNYC. They're like the digital print thing at NYC.
Yeah.
So it's called The City, and it's a newspaper.
I think I came across it once.
I actually also read The Guardian.
It's socialist. To me, it's a socialist outlet. I mean, really, a socialist outlet.
Well, but you have to balance. You have to read everything and balance it, right?
That's what I'm saying. Coming from USSR, I can smell socialist, from a mile away.
Listen, in certain situations, I'm as competitive as the next person. For me, it's just I'm not competitive about money. I was always competitive about doing well in my job. So, see, my theory, my belief, I shouldn't say theory,
Sure.
my belief about human nature is some people will work harder than others, and it's fine to reward them for working harder, which is always the problem that people say. I hadn't been to the USSR, but I've heard that about Cuba, that you couldn't get an extra reward for extra work.
Right.
So I don't have a problem with that. I just think that at some point there still has to be some balance so that people who aren't necessarily working harder, but they just happen to luck into some ideas, or their grandparents worked harder and they saved all, they bought up all these companies or whatever. It's like, okay, they can still do better, but it doesn't have to be so much better that we have people starving in the streets.
Yeah, but look, in America, anyone can make it in America. I mean, seriously, think about. Wait. You're looking at one. Guess what? I came to this country with exactly $120. That's all that I had, around $100. Okay, that's all that I had.
I understand that.
I had no privilege. I had no inheritance. I had no connections. I had absolutely nothing. Now I'm employing some, 12, 13 people. I have a successful business. I have no. Don't give me this crappy. I'm sorry.
I mean, I would say I have white privilege.
I have no freaking white privilege. I came here as poor as it gets. No, seriously, it rubs me the wrong way. What kind of freaking privilege I have? White privilege. I'm Jewish on top of everything else. Do you know how they're treating Jews in the Soviet Union?
Well, no, I know. And that's, listen,
yes.
I agree. I mean, the thing, I believe Israel should exist because there's anti-Semitism all over the world. I just don't agree with their politics, but no one else wants Jews, right? I mean, that's how they treat them. So I'm just trying to lay it out my perspective. But when it comes to white privilege or it's a system, again, it may be hard to see, but there's no denying you came here and you worked hard. Okay?
Yeah, and the only reason I achieved something because I am who I am.
What we're saying is that the way white privilege works is and by white privilege we don't mean like you had individual privilege, but there's a structured white privilege.
But
it's not. It's sort of like this a systemic thing. So you had this wall you had to climb over to create your business and stuff like that, right? So you're standing on the ground, you had to climb over this wall, you had to work hard to do that, right? The thing,
like anybody else, yeah.
Okay. The thing is,
I believe in equality, okay?
So what happens is for especially African Americans, they're starting off with a hole that's 3 feet deep. So they have to get up and then get over that damn fence. So no denying that you had to work hard to get over there, but it's really systemically there's so many barriers to them to get to the point. I mean, you probably came over here with a college education, right? You did statistics or something.
Made no difference. Made zero difference. I never used my education whatsoever. I wanted to go to medical school.
How do you talk about statistics and tell me you didn't use your education?
No, because I didn't. I mean, I never worked in the field that I studied. You know the field. Wait, you know the field that I wanted to go to in the Soviet Union? Medical school. You know what they told me? Basically, not on my face, but I learned that we don't need the Jews. We don't need Jewish doctors.
Like I said, I agree with you.
So what privilege? I mean, why privilege? Come on, man.
Oh, but
I'm using Biden's word. Phrase. Come on, man.
But here's the thing. There were plenty of Jews who came over the United States and changed their name, and they were white.
And they were white?
And they were white. In other words, there are plenty of Jews who came to the U.S., they changed their name, so it wasn't so obviously Jewish, and they became white. The same with the Irish. When my grandparents came over, they were basically scullery maids. My mother, when she had applied for jobs, there were places that said no Irish, need to apply.
Right. So
no
Catholics. See, there we go.
After a generation, they were white. So
but I don't understand why.
So if you have kids, your kids are going to be white.
But that's discrimination against white people, isn't it?
No, it's not discrimination. No.
But how can I say white privilege? I mean, do you consider that you had a leg up just because you're white?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And you feel the same way that you?
I grew up in violence, alcoholism, all this.
I mean, your family.
All this, all this.
Irish.
Shit.
No, I'm the Irishman.
No.
No, you're the one, actually.
No. But still, I mean, I'm able to get out there and do.
That's the whole point. Not because you're white, but just because you work hard, you have ethics.
If I were black or Asian or something, probably in the area I grew up, people wouldn't have said, oh, okay, well, let me give you this job. Let's see. Oh, here's an example. My very first job even. Second job was working at this lumber company owned by an old, Connecticut Yankee.
Okay.
All they came over on the boat. Right? So I walk in there, and I'm looking for a job, and I want to work. And they give me the job. If a black or Asian person walked in there, they would not have gotten the job. There was never a black or Asian person working at that place.
Do you think that people that live in Africa?
But wait, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And because I was part of the community, community, white, and that happened not once, not twice, but multiple times. That's just the way it works,
So how do you solve this problem? If let's say assume that they're right and there's so-called white privilege
happens, it's just you kind of know you're going to get the job because,
But why do you think that's the case on the one hand, and at the same time, I know very successful black people who achieved, the heights like Supreme Court.
Yes. Clarence Thomas.
It doesn't matter whether you agree with his politics, the decisions, but he achieved. Wait. We had the president who was black.
Yes,
Almost forgot.
Yes.
I mean, there's no higher position in America.
He was also half Irish.
Well, but he calls himself black, so he's black. He became the president.
But
Nothing stopped him from becoming the president.
Statistics, right?
Yeah.
So you must understand the concept of outliers.
No, what is it?
Outliers are things that are data points that are outside of the general
anomaly. Okay, got it.
Statistical findings. Okay. So Barack Obama was an outlier for this.
No problem.
So but if you look at so many systems, here's the example that I always give: stop and frisk. When cops did stop and frisk, and getting guns off the street, I'm all for it. And you know what? Most people in the black, Latino, and Asian communities are all for it too. Yeah, they want those guns gone. Right. But what would happen is they would stop and frisk some kids. First of all, they oversampled kids who were black and brown and white in terms of stopping and frisking. Secondly, then if kids had pot in your pocket, so you were allowed to have stuff in your pocket. But at stop and frisk, once they was out in public, then the kid could get arrested for having pot because it's now public in plain view, and the kid goes into the jail system. Which means if you start going to the jail system, you're not, you get a record. It's harder to get to college, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's really what we actually call it the school to prison pipeline. Tony, good to see you, brother. All right. Okay.
See ya.
What time is it? I actually.
Vladimir.
I'm getting my third booster today.
Right.
I'm sorry, I'm getting my third booster today.
Third booster. Then why are you wearing a mask then? If you have a booster, if you have a vaccine, what do you need the mask for? That's another thing that baffles me. Is the vaccine works, and then you are not supposed to be afraid of anything, or it doesn't work and wear a mask?
Again.